Hi, I'm Tony Northrup, and for my Lightroom video training series, I'd like to go over Lightroom's web module. The web module seems to have been designed in like 2002, because as you look at it, if you've been using the web for more than a decade, you'll be like, oh, I remember when the internet looked like that. It's just not, it's not good. And I feel like I need to cover all parts of Lightroom for this video training series, so I'm gonna go over it, but I don't wanna waste your time. So I would suggest you jump forward in the video a bit to the part where I discuss better alternatives to this very outdated module. But if you really wanna know everything about Lightroom, let's jump into the web module. Here I've loaded an assortment of pictures from a trip that I took with the family to Montana. And we can see the default web gallery. Look how slick this looks. Look, there's little words that say previous and next down here, and you can jump between pages. And thumbnails automatically generated. This was a big deal in like 2002, 2003. Like this would have been really useful because at the time, if you wanted to put your pictures on the web, you had to learn HTML. You had to get like HTML for dummies. And you had to get like a thumbnail generator and resize your pictures manually. And if you had this back then, you would have been like, wow, this saves me so much time. But I'll continue on. I've already complained about how bad this module is. So we can browse through different templates here and get an idea of what they look like. They're all bad. You're not going to find one where you're like, wow, this is a really great way to present my pictures. This is probably one of the better ones, except that you can see this F icon here. That means it's Adobe Flash. And Adobe Flash is this plugin module that goes into browsers. The problem with Adobe Flash is that it does not work on the iPhone or the iPad or a whole bunch of other mobile devices. And nowadays, a large portion of web traffic comes from those devices. So I'm going to encourage you to stay away from the Flash module templates in here, if not all the templates. Quickly, I'll show you that you can edit the text in here. Just click on it. And change whatever you'd like. It's easily done. Note that you don't have the option to like rearrange things. It's just not that sophisticated. You do see a preview of the action. Whoa, look, things fade in and out. That was really fancy once upon a time. I gotta stop making fun of this. Let's now go over the layout style panel. You can see that you have a variety of different options here. I don't know what this airtight viewer is. Clearly it's some sort of Adobe plugin that nobody's ever heard of before, and I would guess the compatibility would be pretty bad, so I wouldn't recommend using this more than anything else. Of these, the only one I would ever recommend using is the Lightroom HTML gallery, because this is at least going to provide you compatibility with mobile devices. The Flash gallery will not. Now let's quickly go over the site info panel for the web module on Lightroom. The site info panel here allows you to set basically metadata that will be embedded into your web page. So your title is going to be the title of the website, and users will see it up here, as well as search engines like Google. When it indexes your site, it'll pull it and display this as a search result. So if you're going to use this, it is important to set the search title. The site title is for the entire site, and then the collection is for this one set of pictures. So it's smart to populate all of that. You also notice that there's the option for an identity plate under site info here. And what this is going to do is show your icon up here. And if you happen to have a logo loaded, for example, the identity plate that you might show up here, you'll be able to display that as well as an image. So I'll quickly grab my own identity plate, which I have in the logos folder here. All right, it doesn't like big files because this is the old-timey internet. Before we could resize things, let's see if one of these will work. Okay, there we go. And that's what the identity plate looks like. Now let's move on to the color palette panel in the web module of Lightroom, where you can change the colors and customize it. Close up that site info panel, and now we can select a different color for text. Let's make the text blue. Back when people built websites like this, they also like to use some crazy colors. So we'll stick with the old-timey theme. And man, I wish I could like put some dancing hamsters back there. That would be really trendy. Anyway, this is picking colors. It's pretty simple for anybody to do. Now let's move on to the appearance panel of the web module in Lightroom. What else did you love about the 80s and 90s internet? Drop shadows, of course. Remember when drop shadows were just everywhere? So of course this has drop shadows turned on by default, and lots of lines and borders. So you have some control over that. For the grid pages, I'll click index to return to the grid pages. You can control how big the grid is going to be. There you go. So I just dragged to make it a little bit bigger. You notice that it starts out really small because, of course, when this was developed in 1999 or whenever, everybody had little tiny screens that were like 1024 by 768 was the standard. Nowadays, there are mobile devices which actually have smaller screens and bigger screens, but you don't get to have a layout that automatically resizes. You have to pick one fixed grid size for any size screen. It's not smart enough to adapt just because it's old and terrible. Now, the image pages slider here only applies when you have a picture selected. So here you can see I'm changing the size of this. Again, modern websites will automatically resize pictures to the size of the client device, but you have to pick one fixed size. So usually 1024 pixels is kind of the standard. You wouldn't want to go beyond that. That'll still be weird on mobile devices. But again, you have to pick one thing. So you have to pick something. And you have an option for showing photo borders here, which you can turn on or off. You can see it's not this kind of purple backdrop that I've added here, but rather just the line behind it. We're getting through this fast, aren't we? Let's move on to the image info panel of the web module in Lightroom. Close up the appearance panel. Here you see you can turn off the title and the caption. They're both actually displayed right now, but they're not set for this particular picture. So I'll go back into the library module and just show you where you can set these in the metadata. You can see that's right there in the metadata panel. I'll set both the title and the caption. Now let's jump back into the web module with those pieces of metadata set. And you can see the title is set up here. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we'll see the caption. You can change the data that's displayed. So it might feel pretty cool if you change that to the equipment. So you can see the camera and lens that was being used, good old 5D Mark III. You can change this one too. You can even set it to some static piece of text or combine multiple pieces of data together if you feel so inclined. Now let's move on to the output settings panel of the web module in Lightroom. Close up the image info panel. And this is going to control how the images are rendered because it's actually going to output HTML that you would upload to your old-timey web server. And of course, lower quality improves the bandwidth. And, you know, since we're going back to 1999, most people are connecting to the internet with a 56K modem. You should probably keep this around 30 or so. I'm just kidding. You could go up to 85 and probably be pretty safe. But 70 is probably a decent number. You can also embed some sort of metadata by default. By default, it just adds copyright information, but you could also embed all the metadata. That's going to be hidden inside the picture itself. Only if somebody were to right-click and save your picture and then examine the file would they ever see this metadata. But it's good because people back then thought they could defeat people stealing their pictures by doing things like that. You can also add watermarking. So right now, the watermarking is turned on, and I actually don't see the watermark on this picture, but let's try the Northrup photography watermark. Maybe something shows up. Ah, there it is. So you can see it's embedded in the lower left corner. And I think if we look closely, we might see the simple copyright watermark. Maybe it doesn't show up in that picture. Well, I don't know where the simple copyright watermark goes, but you can see that the graphical watermark works just fine. Finally, you have the option to enable some sort of sharpening, and I would suggest using either low or standard sharpening. Lightroom will use an intelligent sharpening algorithm specifically designed to make pictures look better on screen. Now let's move on to the last proper panel, which is the upload settings. This will tell Lightroom where your server is in case you want to have it automatically FTP your files up. FTP is how people in the 90s used to transfer files on the web. So we'll close up the output settings panel here, and under upload settings, you can see FTP server is defined here, and you can select edit to configure your FTP server. You could have your webmaster, I don't know, so send you a telegraph or a facsimile with your FTP server information. It's going to be like ftp.contoso.com. And then you'll have a username and password too. And most of this will actually just stay the same. You won't have to change this. The path is going to be the path on the server. So you might give your particular gallery its own unique path. So this might show up once I uploaded it as www.contoso.com/Montana because I provided a server path of /Montana. Now, beyond the path that I typed there, you can create another subfolder if you choose to. And once Lightroom connects with an FTP server, it'll make this directory for you and then store your pictures there. So that will become the final path that you would access the pictures on the web server. And you can see here, Lightroom is showing the full path as /Montana/photos. Once you've created your masterpiece web gallery, you might want to call your friends on your rotary phone and have them come over and take a look at it. Well, of course, you wouldn't want to lose it, would you? So you go in and save it, and it's going to appear as a collection when you do save it. So let's check out how to save your old-timey web gallery. Up here, click the Create Saved Web Gallery, and we'll call it Montana. And I'm not going to create it inside an existing collection set, though you could, and I'll click Create. And if we scroll down here under Collections, you'll see there's a new collection with this special icon, which indicates a web gallery. That way you can always switch to a different collection and then jump back to this particular collection easily. Finally, we're almost done. How to upload your web gallery to your web host. Jumping back into Lightroom, there's a big button here that says Upload. And it's going to use whatever settings you've configured here. So I'll click Upload, and it's going to prompt me for my username and password only because I didn't save them here. And if I were to do that and click Upload, it would try to connect to my server and upload it, and hopefully that would succeed, and that would be that. I'm not going to go over the whole intricacies of dealing with server file systems because I guess if you're doing this, you probably already know that. And I'm going to suggest some better alternatives anyway. If you want to transfer the files manually, you can go to the Export button here and save them in a file. So I'll go to my D drive here and create a new folder, which I'll call Web Hosting, because we're pretending that we're using a web host. I'm going to call this Montana. And I'll click Save. So up here you can see the status as it's exporting my pictures. Go ahead and open up Explorer and browse to that folder. Web hosting, Montana. And now we can see, yes, HTML files. This is what used to be behind every page that you visited on the web. They aren't really used so much anymore. HTML is still used, but not really in the same way. So you can go in and open this up with, well, as long as we're going back in time, we'll use Internet Explorer. And there it is. Look, I can browse through everything. Wow, what a great web gallery. It's amazing that you can put pictures in digital form on the internet. If you wanted to see what was behind all this, you could right-click it and then click View Source. And what we'll see is the source file. This is the actual raw HTML, and that's what Lightroom's been making for you this whole time. Whew, look how small that is. Let's get out of Internet Explorer and back into the present, and I'll discuss some better alternatives. There are literally hundreds of sites that would love to host your pictures for free and will do a great job at it. It's very easy to find. All of us have Facebook, and that's a good way to set up a gallery. You can set up your own Facebook page and upload pictures. You could go to Flickr. You could go to 500px.com. All these sites are free for just about everybody, and they make it very easy, and your pictures look way better than they would in the stupid web module in Lightroom. I'll also say that I have a sponsor, Squarespace, who creates portfolio sites. They're not sponsoring this. I just like them, and I figure I'll give you a code as a coupon code, but I don't get any portion of it, just to kind of eliminate any potential bias. But if you feel like getting it and using the discount, you can go to squarespace.com/Tony and the coupon code PHOTOLIVE. Now, do you remember what that site looked like in Internet Explorer? I'll just open up Chrome here so we can see what my Squarespace site looks like, and it's just my site, but it's going to look better. Just going to northrupphotography.com. F11 to go full screen, and you can see right away it's better. It's full screen. It's immersive. It has actual nice controls, not the word next and previous, that allow you to scroll through things. And even better, I can pull up a mobile device, and it looks great on that too. If I feel like editing it, you might think, oh, it must be harder to get the pictures out of Lightroom. It's really not. I just hit the escape key, and then all I have to do is drag a picture to here, and it pops right in. If I want to rearrange things, I literally just drag them and drop them. This is just, well, it's at least a full decade ahead of what Lightroom has. This is how people create web galleries in 2014, and probably in the future too. It's way better than the stupid web gallery, so I suggest you check it out, or 500px or Flickr or whatever, but please don't use the web gallery. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this. If this is your first module that you're watching, I assure you, all the other Lightroom modules are very useful, and I don't make fun of them the whole time. Just the web module is awful. So please do watch the other videos, and if you have any questions for me, please send me an email at tony@northrup.org. Thank you.